the first verse. The musicians for worship. Here goes some more names. Next, David and the worship leaders selected from the family of Asaph, Heman and Jeduthun for special service in preaching and music. Here's the roster of names and assignments from the family of Asaph: Sakur, Joseph, Nethaniah, and Azarallah. They were supervised by Asaph, who spoke for God, backed up by the king's authority. From the family of Jeduthun, there were 6 sons: Gedaliah, Zerai, Jeshiah, Shimei, Hashabiah, and Matthiah. They were supervised by their father Jeduthun, who preached and accompanied himself with the zither. He was responsible for leading the thanks and praise to God. From the family of Heman, Bukiah, Mattaniah, Uziel, Shabiel, Jeremoth, Hananiah, Hanani, Eliath, Yedaitai, Romantai, Ezer, Joshbekashah, Malatai, Hathar, and Mahazias. These were the sons of Heman, the king's seer. They supported and assisted him in his divinely appointed work. God gave Heman 14 sons and 3 daughters. Under their father's I don't know why I keep thinking about that cartoon, He-Man. Under their father's supervision, they were in charge of leading and singing and providing musical accompaniment in the work of worship in the sanctuary of God. Asaph, Jeduthun, and Heman took their orders directly from the king. They were well trained in sacred music, all of them masters. There were 288 of them. They drew names at random to see who would do what. Nobody, whether young or old, teacher or student, was given preference or advantage over another. That's good. First name was Asaph's family was Joseph and his 12 sons and brothers. Second, Gedaliah and his 12 sons and brothers. Third, Zakur and his 12 sons and brothers. Fourth, Israel and his 12 sons and brothers. Fifth, Nethaniah and his 12 sons and brothers. Sixth, Bakuiah and his 12 sons and brothers. Seventh, Jesarallah and his 12 sons and brothers. Eighth, Jeshiah and his 12 sons and brothers. Ninth, Mattaniah and his 12 sons and brothers. 10th, Shimei and his 12 sons and brothers. 11th, Azarel and his 12 sons and brothers. 12th, Hashabiah and his 12 sons and brothers. 13th, Shabuel and his 12 sons and brothers. 14th, Mattathiah and his 12 sons and brothers. 15th, Jeremoth and his 12 sons and brothers. 16th, Hananiah and his 12 sons and brothers. 17th, Joshbekashah and his 12 sons and brothers. 18th, Hanani and his 12 sons and brothers. 19th, Melothai and his 12 sons and brothers. 20th, Elithiah and his 12 sons and brothers. 21st, Hothir and his 12 sons and brothers. 22nd, Gidaltai and his 12 sons and brothers. 23rd, Mahaziah and his 12 sons and brothers. 24th, Romamti Ezer and his 12 sons and brothers. First Chronicles 26, the security guards. The team of security guards were from the family of Korah. Mashelemiah, son of Kori, one of the sons of Asaph. Mashelemiah's sons were Zechariah, the firstborn, followed by Jediel, Zebediah, Jethniel, Elam, Jehanan, and Elihoniah, his 7 sons. Obed-Edom's sons were Shemaiah, the firstborn, followed by Jehozabad, Joah, Sakar, Nathiel, Amiel, Issachar, and Pelothai. God blessed him with 8 sons. His son Shimei had sons who provided outstanding leadership in the family. Othni, Raphael, Obed, Elzabad, his relatives Elihu and Shemakiah were also exceptional. These all came from the line of Obed-Edom, all of them outstanding and strong. There were 62 of them. Mashelemiah had 18 sons and relatives who were outstanding. The sons of Hosa, the Merarite, were Shimri. He was not the firstborn, but his father made him first. Then, that's outstanding. Hilkiah, son of Tobiah, and Zechariah, Hosa, accounted for 13. He wasn't first, but his dad made him first. That's a message. These team of security guards, supervised by their leaders, kept order in the temple of God, keeping up the traditions of their ancestors. They were all assigned to their posts by the same method, regardless of the prominence of their families. Each picked his gate assignment from a hat. Shemaliah was assigned to the east gate. His son Zechariah, shrewd counselor, got the north gate. Obed-Edom got the south gate, and his sons pulled duty at the storehouse. Shupam and Hosa were posted to the west gate and Shalaketh gate on the high road. The guards stood shoulder to shoulder, 6 Levites per day on the east, 4 per day on the north and on the south, and 2 at a time at the storehouse. At the open court to the west, 4 guards were posted on the road and 2 at the court. These are the teams of security guards from the sons of Korah and Merari. Financial affairs, accountants, and bookkeepers. Other Levites were put in charge of the financial affairs of the temple of God. From the family of Ladan, all Gershonites, came Jehaleel and the son of Jeliah, Jethan and his brother Joel. They supervised the finances of the sanctuary of God. From the Amorites, the Israelites, the Hebronites, the Uzzielites, Shabiel, descended from Gershom, the son of Moses, was the chief financial officer, CFO. His relatives through Eleazar, his son Rehabiah, his son Josiah, his son Joram, his son Zikri, and his son Shelemeth. Shelemeth and his relatives were in charge of valuables consecrated by David the king, family heads, and various generals and commanders from the army. They dedicated the plunder that they had gotten in war to the work of the worship of God. In addition, everything that had been dedicated by Samuel the seer, Saul, son of Kish, Abner, son of Ner, and Joab, son of Jeriah. Anything that had been dedicated ever was the responsibility of Shelomith and his family. From the family of the Israelites, Kenaiah and sons were appointed as officials and judges responsible for affairs outside the work of worship and sanctuary. From the family of the Hebronites, Hashabiah and his relatives, 1,700 well-qualified men, were responsible for administration of matters related to the worship of God and the king's work in the territory west of the Jordan. According to the family tree of the Hebronites, Jeriah held pride of place. In the 14th year of David's reign, his last, the Hebron family, was researched, and outstanding men were found at Jazer in Gilead, namely Jeriah and 2,700 men of his extended family. David the king made them responsible for administration of matters related to the worship of God and the work of the king in the territory east of the Jordan, the Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half-tribe of Manasseh. 1 Chronicles 27, military organization. Here is a listing of the sons of Israel by family heads, commanders, and captains, and other officers who served the king in everything military. Army divisions were on duty a month at a time in the 12 months of the year. Each division comprised 24,000 men. First division, first month, Jashabim, son of Zabdiel, was in charge with 24,000 men. He came from the line of Perez. He's over all the army officers during the first month. The division for the second month, Dodai, the Hoite, was in charge, 24,000 men. Mikloth was the leader of his division. Commander for the third month, Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, the priest, with 24,000 men. This was the same Benaiah who was a mighty man among the 30, and their chief, his son Amizadab, was in charge of the division. Fourth division for the fourth month, Asahel, brother of Joab, his son Zebediah, succeeded him, 24,000 men. Fifth division, fifth month, commanded Shamhuth, the Israelite, 24,000 men. Sixth division, sixth month, Ara, son of Ikish, the Tekoite, 24,000 men. Seventh division, seventh month, Helez the Pelonite and Ephraimite, 24,000 men. Eighth division, eighth month, Sibbecai the Hushite, a Zerite, 24,000 men. Ninth division, ninth month, Ebiezer the Anathite, a Benjamite, 24,000 men. 10th division, 10th month, Mahari the Nethaphite, a Sepharahite, 24,000 men. 11th division, 11th month, Benaiah the Pirathomite, Ephraimite, 24,000 men. 12th division, 12th month, Hildai the Nethaphite from the family of Othniel, 24,000 men. Tribal administrators, administrators of the affairs of the tribes. For Reuben, Eleazar, son of Zikri. For Simeon, Shephatiah, son of Makkah. For Levi, Hashabiah, son of Kumiel. For Aaron, Zadok. For Judah, Elihu, David's brother. For Issachar, Omri, son of Michael. For Zebulun, Ishmaiah, son of Obadiah. For Naphtali, Jeremiah, son of Azriel. For Ephraim, Hoshea, son of Azaziah. For one half tribe of, I'm trying to figure out why is Aaron listed. Aaron must be up under Levi. Okay, because that's not a tribe. For one half tribe of Manasseh, Joel, son of Padiah. For the half tribe of Manasseh in Gilead, Edo, son of Zechariah. For Benjamin, Jasiel, son of Abner. For Dan, Azarel, son of Jehoram. These are the administrative officers assigned to the tribes of Israel. David didn't keep account of the men under the age of 20 because God had promised to give Israel a population as numerous as the stars in the sky. Joab, son of Zeruiah, started out counting the men, but he never finished. God's anger broke out on Israel because of the counting. As it turned out, the numbers were never entered into the court of records of King David. Supply officers. The king's storage facilities were supervised by Azamapheth, son of Adiel. Jonathan, son of Uzziah, was responsible for the warehouses in the outlying areas. Ezra, son of Kulub, was in charge of the field workers on the farms. Shimei, the Ramathite, was in charge of the vineyards, and Zabdi, the Shipmite, was in charge of grapes for the wine vats. Baal Hanan, the Gederite, was in charge of the olive and sycamore fig trees in the western hills, and Joash was in charge of the olive oil. Shatrai, the Sharonite, was in charge of herds grazing, and Sharon and Shaphat, son of Adlai, was in charge of the herds in the valley. I'm definitely not going to pronounce that like it was spelled in verse 29. No, Lordy. Obil, the Ishmaelite, was in charge of the camels. Jediah, the Marthite, was in charge of the donkeys. And Jaziz, the Hagrite, was in charge of the flocks. These were the ones responsible for taking care of King David's property. David's counselors, Jonathan, David's uncle, the wise and literate counselor, and Jehiel, son of Hakmani, were responsible for raising the king's sons. Ahithophel was the king's counselor. Hushai, the Archite, was the king's friend. Ahithophel was later replaced by Jehoiada, son of Benaiah, and by Abiathar. Joab was commander of the king's army. 1 Chronicles 28, David's valedictory address. David called together all the leaders of Israel, tribal administrators, heads of various governmental operations, military commanders and captains, stewards in charge of the property and livestock belonging to the king and his sons. Everyone held responsible positions in the kingdom, everyone who held those positions. King David stood tall and spoke, "Listen to me, my people. I fully intended to build a permanent structure for the chest of the covenant of God, God's footstool. But when I got ready to build it, God said to me, you may not build a house of honor to me. You've done too much fighting, killed too many people. God chose me out of my family to be king over Israel forever. First, he chose Judah as the lead tribe. Then he narrowed it down to my family. And finally, he picked me from my father's sons, pleased to make me king over all Israel." Wonder how the other tribes felt about that kind of talk. "And then from all my sons, God gave me many. He chose my son Solomon to sit on the throne of God's rule over Israel. He went on to say, your son Solomon will build my house and my courts. I've chosen him to be my royal adopted son, and I will be to him a father. I will guarantee that his kingdom will last if he continues to be strong-minded in doing what I command and carrying out my decisions as he is doing now. And now in the public place, all Israel looking on and God listening in, God's people obey and study every last one of the commandments of your God so that you can make the most of living in this good land and pass it on intact to your children, ensuring a good future. And you, Solomon, my son, get to know well your father's God, serve him with a whole heart and eager mind. For God examines every heart and sees through every motive. If you seek him, he'll make sure you find him. But if you abandon him, he'll leave you for good. Look sharp now. God has chosen you to build this holy house. Be brave, determined, and do it." Then David presented his son Solomon with the plans for the temple complex, porch, storerooms, meeting rooms, and the palace for atoning sacrifice. He turned over the plans for everything that God's Spirit had brought to his mind, the design of the courtyards, arrangements of the rooms, and the closets for storing all the holy things. He gave him his plan for organizing the Levites and priests in their work of leading and ordering worship in the house of God and for caring for the liturgical furnishings. He provided exact specifications of how much gold and silver was needed for each article used in the services of worship. The gold and silver lampstands and lamps, the gold tables for consecrated bread, the silver tables, the gold forks, the bowls and the jars, and the incense altar. And he gave him the plan for sculpting the cherubs with their wings outstretched over the chests of the covenant of God, the cherubim throne. Here are the blueprints for the whole project as God gave me to understand it, David said. David continued to address Solomon. Take charge, take heart. Don't be anxious or get discouraged. God, my God, is with you in this. He won't walk off and leave you in the lurch. He's at your side until every last detail is completed for conducting the worship of God. You have all the priests and Levites standing ready to pitch in, and skillful craftsmen and artisans of every kind ready to go to work. Both leaders are ready. Just say the word. 1 Chronicles 29. They get ready to build. Then David, the king, addressed the congregation. My son Solomon was singled out and chosen by God to do this, but he's young and untested, and the work is huge. This is not just a place for people to meet each other, but a house for God to meet us. I've done my best to get everything together for building this house for my God. All the materials necessary: gold, silver, bronze, iron, lumber, and precious varicolored stones and building stones, vast stockpiles. Furthermore, because my heart is in this, in addition to and beyond what I've gathered, I'm turning over my personal fortune of gold and silver for making this place of worship for my God. 3,000 talents of gold, which is about 113 tons, all from Ophir, the best. 7,000 talents of silver, which is 214 tons, for covering the walls of the building, and for the gold and silver work for craftsmen and artisans. And now, how about you? Who among you is ready and willing to join in the giving? Ready and willing, because David started the offering off. The heads of the families, leaders of the tribes of Israel, commanders and captains in the army, stewards of the king's affairs, stepped forward and gave willingly. They gave 5,000 talents. 5,000 talents, that's 188 tons, and 10,000 derricks, that's 185 pounds of gold. 10,000 talents of silver, that's 377 tons. 18,000 talents of bronze, that's 679 tons. 100,000 talents of iron, which is 3,775 tons. Anyone who had precious jewels put them in the treasury for the building of the temple of God and the custody of Jehiel the Gershonite. And the people were full of a sense of celebration, all that giving, and all giving willingly, freely. King David was exuberant. David's blessed God in full view of the entire congregation. Blessed are you, O God of Israel, our Father, from old and forever. To you, O God, belong the greatness and the might, the glory, the victory, the majesty, the splendor. Yes, everything in heaven, everything on earth. The kingdom all yours. You've raised yourself high over all. Riches and glory come from you. You rule over all. You hold strength and power in the palm of your hand to build up and strengthen all. And here we are, O God, our God, giving thanks to you, praising your splendid name. But me, who am I? And who are these my people? We should presume to be giving something to you. Everything comes from you. All we're doing is giving back what's been given from your generous hand. As far as you're concerned, we're homeless, shiftless wanderers like our ancestors, our lives mere shadows, hardly anything to us. God, our God, all these materials, these piles of stuff for building a house of worship for you, honoring your holy name, it all came from you. It was all yours in the first place. I know, dear God, that you care nothing for sacrifice. You want us, our true selves. And so I've given from the heart, honestly and happily. And now I see all these people doing the same, giving freely, willingly. What a joy. Oh God, God of our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, keep this generous spirit alive forever in these people always. Keep their heart set firmly in you, and give my son Solomon an uncluttered and focused heart so that he can obey what you command. Excuse me, live by your directions and counsel, and carry through with building the temple for which I have provided. David then addressed the congregation. Bless God, your God. And they did it. Bless God, the God of their ancestors, and worship reverently in the presence of God and the king. The very next day, they butchered the sacrificial animals and offered in worship of Israel to God 1,000 bulls. 1,000 bulls, 1,000 rams, 1,000 sheep. That's a lot of meat. That's a lot of fire burning. And in addition, drink offerings and many other sacrifices. They feasted all day, eating and drinking before God, exuberant with joy. I guess so, with all that beef and sheep. Then they ceremonially reenacted Solomon's coronation, anointing David's son before God as their leader, and Zadok the priest as priest. Solomon sat on the throne of God as king in place of David his father, and everything went well. All Israel obeyed him. All the leaders of the people, including all the sons of King David, accepted Solomon as their king and promised their loyalty. Solomon rode high on a crest of popular acclaim. It was all God's doing. God gave him position and honor beyond any king in Israel before him. David, son of Jesse, ruled over all Israel. He was king for 40 years. He ruled from Hebron 7 years and from Jerusalem 33 years. He died at a ripe old age, full of days and wealth and glory. His son Solomon ruled after him. The history of David the king from start to finish is written in the Chronicles of Samuel the seer, Nathan the prophet, and Gad the seer, including a full account of his rule, his exploits, and the times through which he had and Israel and the surrounding kingdoms passed. This is the word of the Lord. This is